Hi guys, I miss you guys. Hopefully I'll be back on Thursday. That's not gonna help you, A group, but I should be back Thursday. So okay, a couple of you turned this in, and I'm not sure how well it went. From what I can see, it didn't go so well. So I'm gonna go through this a little bit slower for you. So we're going to kind of skip around. This is the radical operations practice. So radical operations practice, and I put it in the in this Canvas page again. So if you don't have it, you can upload it again to Notability or start over. So I want to go over a couple of these addition and subtraction problems down here at the bottom. Okay, so like I said before, the only way we can add and subtract radicals is if they have the same radical or the same number underneath the radical. So in this case, we can add and subtract because these are both the same. And remember I said whenever there's nothing in front, we can put a 1, so we remember that there's a 1 there. So now I have negative 1 radical 12 plus 3 radical 12. And since the number under the radical is the same, I can go ahead and add them together. Okay, so now I can say negative 1, remember I'm looking just at the numbers, negative 1 plus 3 gives me 2 radical 12, which is correct, but I also know that there's a perfect square in radical 12 that I can pull out. So I'm going to break down radical 12 because the factors of radical 12 are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 4 times 3, or 3 times 4, either way. So now I have 2 times radical 4 times radical 3. And I bring my 2 down. 2 times the square root of 4 is 2 radical 3. And then my final answer is 4 radical 3. Okay, so all I did was added the radicals together and then simplified. So if you look at 15, the number under the radical is the same. I have a 2. And all I'm going to do here is add negative 2 plus 3, and I get 1 radical 2. Now here, I can't break radical 2 down, so that's my answer here. So the only time you need to continue to break it down is if it will break down. Okay, so now we're going to get into one that doesn't have the same number under the radical. So what do we do? Now some of you just added the numbers on the outside and the numbers on the inside, and that is not correct. We can only add radicals if they have the same number under the radical sign. So let's look. Our first, and I'm going to talk in words of terms. So our first term is negative 3 radical 8. And our second term is 3 radical 2. So I'm going to work only with my first term, negative 3 radical 8. So I have negative 3, let's change that, negative 3, and there's a perfect square in 8, which is 4. So I have radical 4 times radical 2. I can break 8 down into 4 and 2. I'm going to just keep working through this term before I even move on to the blue term. So now I have radical 3 times the square root of 4 is 2 times radical 2. Now I can multiply these together and I get negative 6 radical 2. Okay, so now I'm going to go look at my other term, 3 radical 2. I cannot simplify the radical 2, so I'm just going to drop that down to plus 3 radical 2. So now if you look at my expression, I have a 2 under this radical and a 2 under this radical. So I can now combine these two terms. So negative 6 plus 3 would give me negative 3 radical 2. And then that would be my answer. So the only way you can combine terms is if the radical is the same. We want to try to get all the radicals to be the same. So we're going to simplify the radicals if we can. So let's skip 19. Let's go down to 23 because it's a little bit more difficult. You know me, I like to use different colors. So I'm going to highlight the terms that go together. So I have 3 radical 54. I don't have any other 54s, so I'm going to move on to negative 3 radical 6 and negative 3 radical 6. They both have the same number under the radical. So now I'm going to go back to my first term, 3 radical 54. I'm going to break 54 down. I know that 9 divides evenly into 54, and 9 is a perfect square. So I'm going to bring my 3 down. 3 times radical 9 times radical 6. I'm going to stick to this term. I'm going to follow it all the way through. So now I have 3 times the square root of 9 is 3 radical 6. Now I'm just going to multiply the two numbers on the outside, 9 radical 6. Now, if I go back up here, I can combine these two right now. Negative 3 radical 6 minus 3 radical 6 is negative 6 radical 6. So I can just drop that down, negative 6 radical 6. And now, if you look, our radical both have the same number underneath the radical sign. So now I can combine this, and I would get 9 minus 6, which is 3, and radical 6 is going to be my final answer. Okay, I'm going to do one more with you, and that'll give you a couple to do on your own. So let's look at 25. Again, I'm going to highlight all of the like terms. So my first one is 3 radical 12. I don't have any other radical 12s. So I'm going to change and do 3 radical 6. I don't have any other radical 6s. So then I'm going to change and do negative 3 radical 3. Okay, so as of right now, I cannot combine any of these terms because none of them have the same number under the radical. But radical 12 can be broken down into radical 4 times radical 3. So now I brought my 3 down, so I have 3 times 2 radical 3. And 3 times 2 is 6 radical 3. So now I have 6 radical 3 plus 3 radical 6 minus 3 radical 3. And from here, 3 radical 3 here can now be combined with 6 radical 3. So I can combine those two, and 6 minus 3 is 3 radical 3. But I cannot do anything with this, so I'm just going to bring it down, plus 3 radical 6. And that's going to be my final answer. Okay, so you want to simplify as far as you can, and then combine the terms. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that and give you another chance to work through these today and turn it in again. So the ones at the top are, some of them are multiplication. Those you just need to multiply and then simplify. And then 9 through 12, 13, 14, 15, 9 through 15 all have the same number under the radical sign, so you just need to simplify after you combine. Okay, good luck. I hope to see you guys soon. Message me on Canvas if you have any questions.